And so my hope, my intention is that by sharing my Starseed Awakening and me coming to terms with my multi-dimensional selves, my integrative fractal self here, bringing all these pieces together, me coming to terms and becoming responsible and accountable for my experience and awakening, it can help others. Just going to jump into another episode of Starseed Awakening. You may have noticed there hasn't been one in a while, simply because we've been traveling, been on the road, and have been deep in transformation and alchemy. And you may have noticed at the intro there an image coming in with some music. So I'm actually going to explain that image today, because I've created that image with the help of technological intelligence. I've created it to portray my journey as a starseed, and what my intention, what my purpose is, why I'm here, why I have chosen to incarnate here at this time, and what primary aspects am I working with, and why that's important. So I'm going to go into that in a minute. I guess I'd just like to say, thank you to everybody for turning up and listening, being with this process. So if I can explain Starseed Awakening for me, the reason why I'm creating this, the reason why I and we are creating Starseed Awakening, is it allows me to have a voice for my personal spiritual transformational process. It allows me to have that voice because in many of the other expressions of work that we're doing, it's about delivering. It's less personal. And so with Starseed Awakening, I'm able to add some of that into the mix. And I want to share my intention with Starseed Awakening, is to help my journey, my awakening, for me to be witnessed, and for me to allow myself to talk openly and share who I am, my cosmic self, my star self, who I am, cosmically speaking, and universally speaking from those places. And doing this, it's like a vlog, video log, and doing this helps the process, right? And my intention is that also, I am completely aware that there are hundreds, thousands, millions perhaps, there's actually billions, a great many people in the process of wakening up, spiritually awakening, being forced to emotionally mature, to mentally, psychologically mature, because of how reality is playing out and the things that are being presented to be faced, to be worked with. And we're dealing with a collective people, and the collective people are all at different levels of conscious awareness. They're all at different levels, incremental stages of evolution. And I'm aware that there's multiple timelines. People are awakening in different ways to different things. I am very much here for the organic, natural timeline, to be born with my mother planet in the environment of my father sky. I am the child of my mother and father here incarnate. I am the fractal representation. I am the seed, and I am in the process of being born and being birthed with my galactic, cosmic, universal mother and father. And I'm all about that. That's the timeline. That's the awakening I'm talking about. I'm aware that there are things on offer in regard to pathways of experience, pathways, journeys of evolution. I'm aware that they're on offer for people, and my job is to turn up and state the pathway that I am walking, living, being, remembering, seeing that I am. And so my hope, my intention is that by sharing my Starseed Awakening and me coming to terms with my multi-dimensional selves, my integrative fractal self here, bringing all these pieces together, me coming to terms and becoming responsible and accountable for my experience and awakening, it can help others. Because we do need voices to help people waken up. And people are all different levels. And so people need all different levels of voices to speak to them. Because it's the energy that comes across when we're sharing that activates. Memory activates awakening. It can trigger. Because it means something to the listener as well as the speaker. So thank you for tuning in to Starseed Awakening, my journey of embodiment of who I am. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to bring up the picture that was on the intro of this, and I'm going to explain what that picture actually means, why it's been chosen. So if I just do that just now, and while I put that on the screen, on the video in production, I'm going to just put it on the MacBook screen right now for me to see. And let's have a look. Okay, there we go. So let's just take a minute to look at that. I find it, because it's personal to me, I find it very emotional, because it captures aspects of my being. That was the whole point. And what I'm doing here, why I'm here, one of my main primary functions. And so I'll start with, you can see the nature. You can see the trees and the water. You can see the sky. You can see the sun. You can see the earth. You can see a heart. You can see a star. You can see a constellation. You can see another constellation. You can see a lying. beautiful lion. You can see a planet. It's planet Saturn. You can see some craft just around planet Saturn. You can see a tower. It's really a monument. You can see a monument coming on the hill there. And you can see a sword. Waiting. Living. Present. And so, I'll begin by explaining that the greenery, or the brownery, of the nature you can see with the trees, bushes, foliage, water, stream, that's a representation of one of my homes, one of my favourite beings and places in Scotland. And it's a beautiful, alive piece of nature which has been part of my and Susie's awakening journey, and that is Roslin Glen. Roslin Glen. R-O-S-L-I-N Glen. Now Roslin Glen is a good few miles, many miles of ancient Caledonian forest and woodland. Scotland, a long time ago, was mostly trees. Trees. So many trees. And as the settlements grew and life moved, a lot of that nature, a lot of those trees were removed and taken down. And there still is a great variety of trees in Scotland. Don't get me wrong. Roslin Glen is one place where the ancient woodland of Scotland is still present. And it's a place where I've personally had some really profound, special, intense, incredible awakening experiences. And I've done quite a lot of work there, spiritually. And a lot of remembering and a lot of healing, a lot of holding has happened in beautiful Roslin Glen. Roslin it's two words put together for the rose line. The rose line. It's an energetic line. I don't know the details, but I guess it would be a ley line, a rose line. I think it's deeper than that, because in Roslin Glen, it's beautiful, and she's alive, and the elements are alive there, the elementals are alive there, nature is alive there, the fae, the small people, they're alive, they're there, they're present. It's a womb. It's a nature's womb place. The feminine, the natural feminine is present there, and yet there is a combination there as well. The distorted feminine is also present there. Thankfully, the natural feminine is greater than that. But no. It's all represented there. Roslin Glen and the village of Roslin, which is just like maybe 10 miles out of Edinburgh, the capital city of Scotland. It's just a little village, tiny little village. I've actually lived there twice with Susie. We have lived in Roslin Village twice over the past, well, actually, almost 20 years. We've lived there twice, just for short periods of time. Roslin has called us to be there. At special times, at special moments, both times, powerful times. So, yeah, something else I'll say about Roslin. In the mainstream, for people, the sort of mainstream world became aware of Roslin because of Roslin Chapel. Roslin Chapel is a famous, well, it's a chapel, like a Christianity chapel. Famous because of Dan Brown, the author, wrote a book called The Da Vinci Code, and then I think Angels and Demons. I've never read these books. I never saw the film that was made either. Because, I mean, I've been to Roslin Chapel as well a number of times, but the real chapel, the real sanctuary, the real natural beauty, the spiritual awesomeness is the Glen. Roslin Glen is the real chapel. There is a building there that gets called Roslin Chapel, and that's grand. Beautiful sculptures and all of these things. There's also a castle. There is the remains of Roslin Castle. However, the magnificence of Roslin Glen is the nature in the Glen. So if you ever go to Roslin, go to the Glen. Just go for a walk. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's what nature, Scotland's ancient woodland, is represented there as Roslin Glen. Okay, the monument you can see just on the left there, that's a representation of the Wallace monument. The Wallace monument. So that's a reference to Scotland's famous guardian of Scotland, and that is William Wallace. We're talking 1296, the year 1296, 1293, 96, and then into the 1300s, and then around 1320, Scotland as a nation got its independence. Scotland as a nation was an independent country. The King of Scotland at the time, the more strawman king, if you like, legal king, managed to declare Scotland's freedom. That was Robert the Bruce. But Robert the Bruce, behind, through, and with the presence, the real King of Scotland, the real spiritual King of Scotland, the natural lower, L-O-R-E, lower king, the natural spiritual King of Scotland, is William Wallace. And his wife, Marion, or Mary, they're the real King and Queen of Scotland. And it was their work that paved the way for the uprising at that time, bringing the people together, helping remind people who they were, and taking out a colonial power, taking out a colonial oppressive power. And that did happen. We did do that as a nation. And yeah, there's sadness there, because the ache, I still feel it to this day, because we're dealing with a multi-dimensional cosmic empire that has been playing out across our world And it plays out as colonization and oppression and indigenous people, natural people being oppressed, being ethnically cleansed for fuck's sake, removed from their land, their memories, tried to get their memories broken and wiped in a very obscene kind of draconian kind of way, just by like through generations of time, and then selling back to the people what was once theirs, what was already theirs. You take from the people, you take from the people what they have, and then you make them forget, or you break them, and you make them forget. You make them so oppressed and so broken that they become forgetful, and then you feed them back bits of what they already were. And then us, when in our broken state, we see those pieces, and we see ourselves in them. We see fragments of ourselves, because there is fragments of ourselves in them. And then we go and, some of us go and then try and acquire them. And then the game of fractured disassociation continues. So anyway, Scotland, just like every other nation in the world, has been through hell. Has been through all this fracturing and all this war and all this separation, and it carries on to today, and that's very important to me, because I incarnate into Scotland for a reason, and I love the spirit of my country. The spirit of my country sings through me, and it spoke to me, and it has shown me what it is. And in fact, in Roslin Glen, it spoke to me some of the loudest in the early days, 2009, 2010, say, when I was awakening to the spirit of Scotland more and my own spiritual identity, who I am. It came through to me loud and strong, the ache and the pain, that core ache and pain of what happened, and just how difficult it was to be that. So that monument is the Wallace Monument, the William Wallace Monument. That's a real monument. You can go and visit that monument in Stirling in Scotland. It's in Stirling because that was one of the great victories. Unfortunately, it's a great victory, a victory of war. It involves killing people. But it's when the indigenous people stood up, came together, and with the clever commanding king, took down an empirical force, an empire, basically a guerrilla force in Scotland. People just coming together under I guess you could say a rebel king, really the natural king, but didn't have legal status or any of that, but rose to the occasion because a leader was needed. So a leader rose, and that was William Wallace and his wife, Marion. They did it together. She sacrificed herself. She was killed by the empire, and their spirit endured through the whole experience. They both martyred themselves for the cause. Both of them. They both did exactly the same thing. And they did it together. And yeah, means a lot. Means a lot. And it carries on through to today. People are still trying to comprehend what that was, because it was so powerful. How could such a king be born? King and queen. That's the thing. It was both of them, always queen and king. But we're dealing with a patriarchy, and so the masculine always gets the emphasis. However, in reality, there is no separation. There is no masculine without the feminine. And there is no feminine without the masculine. They are one and the same. They are relating to each other to remember who they are as one unified being. Ooh, so it's the Wallace Monument. The Wallace Monument is beautiful. It is actually really beautiful. And inside the Wallace Monument is William Wallace's sword. His sword is in there. Some people say it's a copy. I don't know. I think it might be his sword. And it's beautiful. We do actually have a picture of it. If I can find that picture, I might put it in here, or put it in at the end somewhere, and you can see it. I remember it not being the best of lighting, but you can see the size of this sword. This is a real sword held by a real man. You know, men were big. Men were bigger back then because they had to be strong. It was far more labour intensive for the majority in those times. And talking about Scotland, and so yeah, the Wallace Monument in Stirling. So I've placed that there in amidst the Roslin Glen because these are very special things to me. And that's going to lead us to the sword you can see in the picture. The sword that is in the ground there. That beautiful sword. Now that sword represents Excalibur. You know, all these things make me cry. All of them make me cry because they're so deep. They're the memory of the core essence of creation. They go into the energy of the creation and why the reality, why the place, why this world was created in the first place. And there's an ache there because it's so beautiful. The light coming through cracks the darkness, and the darkness, gets experienced and gets released. That's why crying is such a beautiful thing. So, yes, the sword, Excalibur, in the ground there. Another really significant part of mine and our journey, because I've been living the journey of remembering and how to wield the sword. Wield the sword of truth, of integrated light. Wield the sword, the solar sword, the sword of universal light, the sword of integrated universal light, the sword of truth. That's the truth I'm talking about, and that's what Excalibur represents. Excalibur is a sword of truth. And to wield the sword, you can wield the sword through your actions, through your voice, through your creativity, through your expression. That's how you wield the sword. You be the truth. You have to become the truth. You have to remember the truth. And you have to be willing to transform. You have to be willing to face all of your shadow, all of your light. You have to be willing to bring it into a wholeness. That is what a knight is. That's what the Knights of the Round Table represent. These are knights that represent wholeness. That's their... It's to do with creation. It's to do with why creation is, how it's been created and why. And so the sword, the sword is so powerful and so awesome. Whew. Okay, wow. We'll go into that more fully as we go in Susie and I's work, because the sword is embedded in our work. It's an essential, intrinsic part of it. The sword has been coming through our being, and it has literally turned us inside out, relentlessly, so we can face ourselves, our multi-dimensional selves, and bring our being home, individually and together. Amazing. Okay, so carry on here. Whoa. Whew. Okay, now I'm going to bring it to, so up in the image here, you can see the cosmic landscape there, or the cosmic scape, and you can see a lion being. So the lion being, in fact, I'm just going to stand up so I can move around. I've got a microphone on, so it won't change the sound. It just means I can move my energy a bit. The lion being represents my Lyran aspect. My Lyran lion being aspect. This is an aspect, this is my heart. This is where my heart comes from. Where there's warmth, there's courage, there's strength. It's part of my lion's heart. I'm a lion being, feline being. It's part of my nature. It involves taking a lot of responsibility, becoming accountable for my experience, my reality, and it involves being true, loyal, and honourable. That's what my lion being is about. And it's powerful, and it's been taking me a long time and continues to be able to wield and integrate my lion being self, because him and what he represents, him and her, but him and what he represents, he is with me all the time, and it's my job to allow him to be present through me. And it's my lion being. And I'm just going to jump in the image there over to the other side, and you can see the planet Saturn. You can see the planet Saturn, and then it's like 3 crafts just around planet Saturn. I've put that there to represent my primary dark aspect that I work with. My primary dark aspect is a Nachtwaffen, Dark Fleet Commander aspect, which essentially is evil. It's working with the energy of evil, the environment of distorted darkness. It's in the empire of the gods, although people might see it as maybe like the devil, like a hell realm. But ultimately, it's in the realm of the gods and goddesses, dark lords, dark ladies. Where there is one, there is the other. There is no god without a goddess. There is no goddess without a god. The masculine representation is often just the one you can see, visually externalized, but the feminine is always there, holding the creation. She's the one that gave birth to it all. It all passed through her, came through her. She's the mother of all that. And so the mother of darkness and the father of darkness, they are a unit. They are connected. And so I put Saturn there. It represents my evil, dark aspect, primary aspect, even aspects. And the reason why, so that's there, is because it's been such a significant part of my journey, continues to be, the sword being present in mine and our life has broken open multidimensionally the darkness that has been present in my being. And yeah, you get all the shock of what that is, because you realise that you've been involved in nefarious activities. Like my being was fractured. In a disturbing way. My being was fractured, and then part of my spirit and consciousness was fractured, taken out of me, and I was put into space. I'm involved in a secret space program, and I spent a long time there, working in these, well, in that empire in particular. So dealing with the Nachtwaffen, so that's the German Dark Fleet. Okay, and yeah, an aspect of my being has worked for a long time, decades, in that environment, and I've been integrating that in my journey here on this plane of existence as Wilson. And so the Nachtwaffen aspect, so I'll just call it, I said, a dark commander. Wasn't always a commander, had to go through the ranks to become a commander, so had a lot of experiences before getting to that point. It's difficult for anybody having to remember their memories from secret space programs. It's very, very difficult. You're dealing with something that is literally called a secret space program. It's in the title. The effort that's been taken to keep that secret is absolutely wild. And when you're taken like that, they force forgetfulness onto you. They deal with amnesia, and they work it. So you have all these experiences, you have all this stuff going on, and then try to remove those memories from you for various reasons. Could be for your own health and well-being, because it might be things that are so horrible that you wouldn't want to remember them. My journey is, my being, my greater being, shows me enough in every moment as I go for my awakening and remembrance process. And I accept that. There has been times where I have declared to my soul and my greater being to show me more because it's been so painful, and sometimes it has directly. But for the majority of the time, I accept and trust my greater being, and how much I can deal with, and what is appropriate for my integrative process and transformation. So, yeah, so we'll call him a dark commander there. And then if we go back, so got my Lyran being, you could say as a light commander. Okay? And essentially, my being agreed. I agreed to experience the duality. I contractually agreed to have these experiences for the purpose of helping end the conflict between, I mean, in its most essential form, between the Lyran Wars. The Lyran Wars. So contracts, I made contracts to come here and integrate the conflict. And that's what I've been living in my being. It's been so disturbing and so confusing because I literally have been going around feeling like I'm schizophrenic, feeling like I am heavily autistic. I am partially, but it's been extreme at times. Feeling like, feeling incredibly poor, you know, financially for decades of my life, and having all this going on, and then constantly having this incredible spirit, such a strong spirit present with me, and just like knowing that I'm going to forge through all of this experience. That's what I've been doing. And so, contractually, as a representative of the Draconian Empire, and a representative of the Lyran people, who decided to transform this conflict and do it here by incarnating here as a human being, as Wilson. That's what I've chosen to do. I've chosen to embrace the duality of my being. I've chosen to integrate this into wholeness. And so I've literally lived the darkness and the light in those ways. And now, here in this fractal, my humanity right here in my vessel, in my being, I'm here to integrate that into a wholeness. I'm here to integrate that duality. And thus that literally helps create harmony for what I represent in the cosmos through this process here. That's how powerful we are as people. We all represent a great many things. And what we do here in this fractal reality is enormous. This is a powerful reality. Powerful, concentrated reality. It might not seem it, the way things look and are and going about everyday life. This is a powerful reality, and that's why so many beings, peoples, so many walks of life are interested in here. You know, and because they have contracts about here. That's why I'm just going to come back to my seat now. I've just been sort of pacing around the room there. Okay, so thank you for taking a bit of that journey with me. I'll take the image down in a moment, but that's what this is about. So I've came here to become whole and to integrate, and these are my primary things that I work with all the time. This is the stuff that I'm integrating into a wholeness. And this is me, and this is my Starseed Awakening journey. So thank you. I'll take the image off the screen now. There we go. Okay, so thank you for taking that journey. Thank you for taking that journey with me, with us. It's been a lot to come to terms with being multidimensional, but we all are. We're multidimensional beings remembering who we are. And so those are some of my primary some of my primary aspects as this individuation of my being. I am one primary individuation of my relationship with Susie. Susie is also, Susie is a primary aspect, not of my being, but of our being. Susie and I's shared being. We are two primary aspects of that shared being. I'm talking about my individuation of that and what I am working on to harmonize, integrate, transcend, transmute. And by doing the work here, by doing the spiritual work, facing myself, facing all these things, and going through the realization process, the embodiment process, that's what the work is. I literally help what I represent. I send that information through my being to my peoples. And we change. We all change. It's not just Mother Earth Sophia, Father Son Helios, all the planets here in this solar system that are changing. You know, so much is changing. So much is changing in the cosmos. We are closing the cycle. We're closing the cycle. We're literally doing that. This is what it looks like. This is a fractal reality. It's compressed. Experience is compressed, concentrated. That's why it looks the way it is the way it is. And we are in the process of an awakening, a remembrance process. An awakening, a realization, constant realizing with our whole being. To realize is to make things real. Let's make our multi-dimensionals, like selves and experiences, real. That's what it is. And yeah, that's us as people. We are immense. We really are. We are incredible to be able to deal with the strength and the integrity of us as a people. Powerful. That's why we have such powerful things challenging us, offering us opportunities to move through relationships, contracts, energies. It's a gift. Being here is a gift, and we're here to transform. So there's a bit more about my journey, Starseed Awakening. I'm using that title, Starseed, Sunseed. Susie came up with Soul Seed. Yeah. Because I am a seed. I'm a seed that is germinating here in the soil, in my mother's womb. And that's what we are doing as a people. And we're coming out into the light. We're breaking through the soil. We're coming through. We're being born from our mother. That's what we are doing. And we're becoming integrated beings of universal light. The universe holds everything in balance, all darkness, all light. Okay? We are fractals, we're seeds of that existence. That's why we have such polarity going on, such seeming darkness, such seeming lightness. We've got to integrate it all. They're two sides of the same thing. When they're fractured, it creates duality because the experience is needed for them to meet so they can become whole. Otherwise, it's just endless battle. And that's what I'm talking about with the Lyran wars. So painful, so disturbing. Endless battle, never-ending battle. How are we going to change this? How is it going to change? Well, it changes, for me, by coming here. I help change that by coming here. Because I integrate here. because in my incarnational form there, I don't have the capacity to do it. I don't have the capacity. I have the capacity here. And that's how powerful these beings are. We're all doing it together. We are the children of the universe, if you like. Yeah, we are. And we're being born. I will go into more of this stuff in another video, because I look forward to sharing. I'm going to be doing something called natural evolutionary updates. And that's, yeah. Well, you'll see what that is when it comes out. I look forward to creating the first one of that soon. And but I'm going to be stating something very simple over and over and over again, and that is, I am a seed, just what I've said, in my mother's womb, being held by my father. I'm here to be born with my family. I am not going anywhere. Nowhere. I'm staying right here with my mother planet, and we're going to be born with the embrace of a father. Father-son. We're going to do this integrative, holding journey. We're at the completion cycle. We're at the end of the road. This is it. Here we are. Can we remember? Yes, we can, because we are. We're going to keep being faced with all this stuff. We're going to keep facing it. And we're going to keep remembering and realizing who we are. So thank you for listening to me. I hope this is useful for you as well on your journey, your awakening journey. Like I say, people at all different levels, and we all need to share who we are. All of us. We're here for a reason. The forces of limitation try and get us to believe that we're not here for any reason, that we're insignificant. Nothing could be further from the truth. We are here for a reason. And I'm declaring some of my reason. And so, thank you again. I'm gonna leave it here. Like I say, if I could find that picture of the Wallace sword, William Wallace's sword, I'll put that in here. And I'm going to let this video end. So just a little bit of context for where we are at the moment. So Susie and I, we are in Laos, the country of Laos in Southeast Asia. Laos is directly next to Thailand. We're in northern Laos, which is beautiful Southeast Asian country. And so I'm actually gonna insert some footage here of a beautiful northern town called Luang, Prabang. And this is just some of the local street of Luang Prabang, and then going around the corner and moving down along the Mekong River, which is enormous. It goes all the way down. I'm not sure how far it goes in the country, but it's enormous. It's beautiful. And yeah, enjoy the scene. I will overlay some music, some of our music on top of that. And we'll leave it there just by going into the heart.